Welcome to A Girl, a Guy, and a Buffy podcast, Small Bites edition. I'm your co-host, Kate Balzer.
And I'm Charles Swint. So our Small Bites episodes are discussions we had in the main episode that didn't quite fit the overall conversation, but we still wanted to share with you all.
We hope you enjoy these tasty conversational bites. We promise, no angry puppy scars from listening.
So, with all of these bands at the Bronze, like, do you remember kind of some of your favorite Bronze bands? Do you remember?
Kind of. So I remember more than I might have just even with all the rewatches that I've done, because again, this is why like it made an impression on me when I got like my first iPod and I was using iTunes. I started like digging into like what are the bands and the soundtrack songs that they're using in the show, and started making a playlist of ones that I really liked. I discovered a website out there that would have like the list of songs per episode, and I did things like, if I couldn't find it because they were so indie, if I couldn't find it on iTunes and buy it, I would find like their CD on Amazon, buy it, like
cool.
Rip the songs that I liked, and upload it to my laptop and then put it in my playlist. So I have a lot of the CDs for some of these bands because of that. Which it's actually kind of like, I love the fact that I have actual media, the CDs and whatnot. It's not just available streaming. So yes, definitely. I think Chibo Mato certainly stands out. I believe that was that when she was bad? Was that the sexy dance? It was definitely season 2.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was like involved in the sexy dance, but even like they were excited because I remember Willow was like, "Oh, we're here! Like we're seeing Chibo Mato."
Yeah.
That was one of the few times I feel like the name of the band was mentioned, that it wasn't just like in the background.
Yeah, I think that's I think in terms of sort of some of the bigger names or whatever, like that one was the only one where they named who that artist was.
Yes. I think you're
like
right.
in the show itself. Yeah.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Even this is actually not a Bronze one, but it was at one of the fraternity parties, or one of the parties they go to in college. But I really like the Biff Naked songs.
Okay, yeah.
That was one for sure. I loved. Okay, so it's like bad moment for a character, but it's actually one of my favorite songs from one of the bands at the Bronze. But it was when Willow and Amy were at the Bronze, like turning everyone into different things. And I really love that Halo friendly song.
Yeah, that one I really like. Yeah.
That's so good. I could listen to that like over and over again.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And this is so weird because and this is, I will say, for a non-band, because they're not a band, but Dingoes Ate My Baby. Like, I liked the music that they play, and it's so weird because I was like, so they're not a band. So what? I still don't think I understand how.
So they are. So other than Seth Green, they actually are a band in real life.
But they're not called. Are they called Dingoes Ate My Baby,
or
they're called something else?
Just it's like when you rename a dog in a movie,
Right.
It's sort of the same thing. It's like, that's not the dog's name in real life. That's his like role.
His role that they play.
Yeah.
So, do you know who the band is?
I do. Let me see if I made note. It came up in my research. Okay. Don't quote me on this. We'll have to like dig into it, and everyone who like actually is listening and knows this is screaming at us. But I think it was. So one of the bands that I liked was that they had on there was 4-Star Mary. Don't quote me, but I think that might be the real life band. So like, the guy who's in the band with Oz, who's kind of like the himbo.
I love that you called him my himbo.
Couldn't think of another word faster.
I love so much.
He actually is the lead singer of the real life band. Like, he played the lead singer in Dingoes Ate My Baby, and he's actually the real life singer. He was like the only band member who had some lines. And I think he actually went to Sunnydale High School, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like 4-Star Mary. Is that what you said?
That's what I thought.
Yes, I think so. I
Yes.
think
Okay,
that's
for the
right.
win.
I'm referring to the book.
Oh, perfect. Our new Bible.
Our new reference guide.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's just
Which I
yeah.
love.
Yeah,
That
for
they
sure,
did
Mary.
that so that
Yeah.
they it made it feel more realistic.
Yeah. I liked their music. I would have totally been down to
Yeah.
go to the Bronze and been like, yeah, let's listen to some some Dingoes.
Okay, one more that I forgot, and then it's your turn to tell me. Michelle Branch.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
I mean,
it's such
that's
a perfect use of her song in that moment.
it's an iconic moment. I mean, it's an iconic song, but
It is.
and I would say that that's one of mine too. And it's one of
Yeah.
it's so interesting that I remember being so excited about it at the time because they made such a big deal about it.
Yeah.
About it. Like you knew she was going to be on, like, talk about spoiler alert. They were like
Right.
in all promotions, they were like on an all new Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Michelle Branch is playing. Like they were like, we don't know what the episode is, but we
Yeah.
know Michelle Branch will be playing at the prom. Like that was it. That's all we had.
Yeah.
Um, so and I still, so yes, absolutely. Amy Mann was
That was, I
great.
mean, and she's the only one to have a line.
Yeah. So it definitely it definitely hits differently. Although I will say, and she was another one that, well, actually I don't they didn't push Amy Mann as much as I don't remember them pushing Amy Mann as much as they did Michelle Branch.
Which
Uh
makes sense because Michelle Branch was definitely the right
Demographic.
demographic. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
she
you.
was that age thing where Amy Mann was a little bit she's way more established, as an
Well, it's like the
artist.
cool older sibling who's into like the cool indie music is listening to Amy Mann.
Yeah, or your parents are like, Amy Mann's on Buffy, what's she doing
Right.
there?
Right, exactly.
Um, yeah, but I would say that yes, and the one where they're in the where Amy and Willow are changing the bands back and forth, um,
Yes.
is another one of my favorite songs. I think of that, but um, yeah, definitely Dingoes because I was like, wow, they're really
Yeah, they're
good. I
good.
really really like this band.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
Well,
was
you know what's really cool, and I never realized this, but in again doing research and finding list of like Screen Rant had a list of all the real life bands that played at the Bronze, which was actually less than I expected. So I don't know if they left anyone off
mhm.
because it was only like 15, 16 bands.
Oh, that seems
Um,
like a very small list.
that's what I thought. So maybe, but they made it seem like it was the full list, but maybe it wasn't.
Mm.
Anyway, there is a high number of female bands,
Yeah.
either like all female or predominantly female. We already mentioned like Chibamato. There was Kay's Choice. Already
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
Biff
Cage
Naked.
Choice too. Yeah. Oh
Velvet
gosh.
Chain, Belly Love. I really liked Belly Love. And then Darling Violetta, who went on to do the theme song to Angel.
Yeah.
The Breeders, who then redid the Buffy theme for the Radio Sunnydale soundtrack. And we already mentioned Michelle Branch and Amy Mann. And that's not all of them. I just kind of
Right.
captured a few. But, speaking to our last season's Big Bad theme and feminism, especially in um, punk music, although
Hmm.
there is a significant number of female groups and female artists in punk, they don't always get the attention that they deserve compared
Right.
to male led groups. So I think it is pretty cool that whether intentionally or not,
Right.
they had a fairly even distribution and honestly it may even be more female groups at the Bronze. I certainly feel like the female one stood out more to me
Right. Yeah.
than a lot of the male ones. More so, I don't know, just because they seem like they were incorporated more into the scene rather than just playing in the background.
Hmm.
Um,
There was
yeah, which
something
I
that
think is, I just think that's awesome. So kind of an offshoot discussion of all this, but somewhat related to the music found at the Bronze or used in the soundtrack of Buffy is well, you know, I'm a big fan of Hamilton.
Yes.
So one of the things that Lin-Manuel Miranda did was basically like a soundtrack, but he got together with pop, hip hop, and R&B artists and re-recorded some of the key songs from the musical in their style. The songs sometimes were slightly rewritten to fit like a pop album, which was awesome. But then he like went and outdid himself on that, and he did some additional songs that he dropped like once a month for like, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months. I only knew about it afterwards. I wasn't into Hamilton at this time. So there's a song in the musical called Helpless, and as part of one of the Hamel drops, as they're referred to, there was an LA punk band of all women punk band called The Regrets, and he had them re-record Helpless in their style. And I'll tell you, it sounds like a group that could have been at the Bronze. I like hear it and I'm like, I really want this to be like on Buffy now. If they do ever finally get to that Buffy rewrite, I'm like, come on, you got to have that like Regrets come on and do this song at the Bronze or whatever the new club is called.
Right.
It's so perfectly Buffy because it's this female LA punk band. It was like as soon as I heard it, I was like, Buffy, 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 Buffy. So it doesn't have anything to do with the series, but it just evokes the show for me. Oh, one thing we should again, I mean, this is sort of a common reoccurring um theme that we have to discuss because it's an issue that is woven into all of Buffy. But one thing to note, of course, is almost all of these groups are white.
Sure.
Sure. Chibo Mato might be one of the few exceptions. And they're Asian artists. But I mean, maybe in LA, I don't know LA. I don't know the punk scene, and I certainly don't know LA's punk scene. We certainly think of punk as being more predominantly white, but I don't know that that's actually true. That just may be who we see.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure punk is probably in certain cities and certain places more diverse than what you may see in more mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. I mean, I think a lot of like, especially if we go back to 80s and 70s, there's a ton of there are punk bands that were with like black lead singers, and it wasn't just white kids
right,
playing punk music,
which is what I would assume, because typically in most cases when you start digging into it,
yeah,
that kind of stuff is never just one group of people. Like, it's more diverse than you think. It's just media attention or mainstream attention may be on a certain set of that
right,
group, that style of music or whatever it may be.
yeah. And because I mean, punk is not my it's not the music that I normally listen to.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about like the Clash of the Ramones, but there's other, that's typically what people think about, but there's so much more. There's so much more out there. And I'm sure people who know more than we do about this.
Yeah, if you do, like, shoot us an email or, comment on social media when we post about this episode, because it would be great to hear from people about this.
Like, yeah, if you know other punk bands that you're like, yeah, you guys are missing out on this thing, let us know. I did some quick digging about like what was popular during this time, and what happened, like what were the number one songs that were out when each season premiered.
Yeah.
So these are bands and songs that would never play at the Bronze.
Right.
You would never see any of these at the Bronze. Um, the first, so when season one premiered, it was "Wannabe" by the Spice Girls was number one, like the weekend that it premiered. Season two, the song that was number one was "Honey" by Mariah Carey.
Oh wow.
Season three was "The First Night" by Monica.
Okay.
Season four was "Heartbreaker" by Mariah Carey featuring Jay-Z. Uh, and when season five premiered, "Music" by Madonna was number one.
Okay.
In season six, "Fallen" by Alicia Keys was number one. And then in season seven, "Dilemma" by Nelly featuring Kelly Rowland was number one. None
Wow,
of
that's
those
a
people,
throwback.
yeah, none of those people would have appeared at the Bronze. And so it
Wow.
just goes to show like the idea of keeping it indie also sort of keeps you in this like fantasy world too, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't pull you into our real world. It keeps you separated from that. And the only like I think maybe one of the few times that even in the scoring and all of that stuff that they use someone who is relatively popular and well known was Sarah McLachlan. And
Yeah.
they used, at the end of season two, they
Right.
used
Full of grace
Full
at
of
the end of
Grace.
becoming
Yeah.
part two.
Yeah.
They actually used her twice. It's two,
Yes.
so it's two of my favorites. And then they used her at the end of Grave, where she does the prayer of Saint Francis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So good. I love. It's like
Yeah.
two of my favorite soundtrack moments from the series.
You know what we didn't talk about, and just going back to like bands
Bronze.
at the Bronze, is the song that they I need oh God, now I gotta look it up. I gotta look it up because it's the song that they play during conversations with dead people.
I have that. It's Blue, and Angie Hart sings it, and
Y-
Joss Whedon specifically co-wrote it for that episode.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
love
was a
that song.
brand new song. So it was not just pulled in to you know be for that episode. He actually like co-wrote it with, I believe, with her,
Mm,
um with Angie Hart. But yeah, it's a great
it's
great
a
musical moment.
yeah, it's so good. Um yeah, sorry, I just kind of took us off there because
No,
um
no, I think it's great.
I really just remembered that moment. So talking about music,
Hmm.
I mean, I think uh, I feel like maybe this is probably going forward or going backwards. I don't know. Um, but I think, and it's again music related, but sort of music adjacent. The fact that Ashanti was on
Oh.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Yeah.
is still one of the weirdest things to me.
Yeah.
Um, but also I think this again, I feel like she was a huge star. Like she really was a big
Huge.
star at the time and had all these singles out and also um it, at the time was also releasing a book too. Um
Gosh, I don't even know
yeah.
if I knew that.
Yeah, she had a book. I found a clip. I found an ET clip that we'll have to share.
Absolutely.
um about it and they were talking about her just like promoting her being on that episode of Buffy that night. Um I found an old ET
Yeah,
clip.
I mean, I remember again there being flack from the fans. And again, this is like the UPN year, so maybe
Yeah.
they felt like they needed to do this to get more people to watch. I'm not sure that, in spite of her popularity as a musician, I'm not sure Ashanti was that the musician who was going to attract people to watch an episode of Buffy, particularly in season 7. I mean,
Right. And it also felt a little bit like um casting Aisha Tyler and Friends in the last
yes.
season. It
Yes.
felt kind of like that.
Yes, I
It,
totally agree.
it felt like we need to have a person of color on the show because we haven't. Well, I mean, you had Robin Wood, but
Right.
which also feels a little.
Yeah. Well, and you have Rona. I mean, they definitely filled out the cast in season 7.
Yeah, they were like, well,
in a way,
we'll get some more.
We never did before.
Right.
I
but
do
yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, of course there was a lot of flack, and then a lot of people like criticize. Well, I should say some fans. I remember fan criticism of her performance. But even back then, and I still feel this way, it's not a great performance, but honestly, it's not all that bad. Like, I expected it to be a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
And I actually thought she had good chemistry with Xander.
Yeah.
With Nick Brennan. So yeah, I think it was better when she was like the flirty girl. It didn't quite work as much when she became the demon.
Right. Yeah.
At least for me in the performance.
It was okay. Like, the whole thing was fine. I didn't really. When I look back at it, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not. And she was trying to. I mean, I think she was doing some other stuff too. Like, she was doing some other like minor roles on shows, so she was trying to build up some
Acting
credibility.
Cred.
Yeah.
Sure.
But there you go. Ashanti. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Small Bites. Let us know your thoughts about the episode by leaving a review or rating us wherever you listen to your podcast.
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Buffy Podcast, and email us at abuffypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.